Hi, my distance learners. Today we had a little change up in what our classroom assignment was. After we did the apostrophe quiz, I saw there was a lot of difficulty on the quiz. So we ended up doing a review on the apostrophe quiz. So I'm going to take you through that review and explain to you how we came about the answers and identify when we would use the apostrophe for plural possession or when we would use the apostrophe for just indicating one person has ownership. So I'm going to walk you through that, and that's what we are doing today in class. We didn't get onto the comma practice slides, so I moved those to next week because tomorrow we're going to do more of the apostrophe practice in class. Tomorrow and Friday we're going to do more apostrophe practice. So I wanted to give you guys the updates so you guys don't wonder, what happened to that assignment. I was going to work on that. So we'll get back to that next week. I'm not ready to move along because we need some more support. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you through this. All right? All right, so when we look through the quiz from yesterday, all right, we started off our first question was looking at the sentence, her husband's wallet was full of curious items. Okay, so we need to look at it and say, how many husbands? We have one husband that we're talking about. She's talking about her husband. So we're going to give possession to the one husband. So we would use the apostrophe S for this sentence. So that's what we would use for our first one. The second sentence, I went to the editor-in-chief house for dinner. Well, we're going to a specific person's house. So to show possession, again, like our first one, we would have to do the apostrophe S. We're going to one person's house, the editor-in-chief's house. So we would use the apostrophe S to show that we're going to his house. Looking at the next one, you may not enter Mr. Harris's office. Again, we are talking about one person's office. So it doesn't matter that Mr. Harris's name ends in an S. We still would show possession by adding the apostrophe S. We're talking about Mr. Harris, his alone, his office. So that would be the correct use of the apostrophe for showing Mr. Harris's office. Number 4. What are your children's names? Well, this one we have to look at the word children. And children by itself is plural. So we already know that we have more than one children that we're talking about. So the rule with children to make it plural is you just add the apostrophe S. Okay? So because children's already plural, if we're showing possession about the multiple children, we just add the apostrophe S. And that's why our second response would be the correct response. We're talking about multiple children. Next up, we have the same issue. Okay, so here we are talking about women. Women in itself is a plural noun. Okay, we're talking about more than one woman. So when we say we're talking about the women's dresses on the second floor, we need to just add the apostrophe S. Okay, we add the apostrophe S. So therefore, our first response would be correct. The apostrophe S. All right. The next one. It's a shame that had to happen. Okay, so with this, it's and its. They sound the same. One's a contraction, one's the pronoun. So just do the replacement. Does it sound right if we say it is a shame that had to happen? Or would we just keep it the pronoun? Well, if we say it is a shame that had to happen, that is correct. It still sounds correct, so that is the correct usage. The pronoun would replace the noun, okay? And we don't know what it is, so it has to remain the pronoun. All right, number 7. It's a dog wagging its tail. So same thing, we're going to do the replacement. Would we say it is a dog wagging its tail? No, that doesn't make sense. It is a dog wagging its tail. It's is talking about the dog. We're still talking about the dog's tail. That makes sense. So we know we're talking about the dog, so we wouldn't use the it's, okay, because we're talking about the dog. We wouldn't use a pronoun there. So we are left with it is, the contraction of it is a dog wagging its tail. The next one, the two cities. This one we had multiple issues with. Okay, people had a difficult time because we have to identify how many cities are we talking about. We're talking about two. Okay, this indicates we're giving possession to one city. So that's not going to be right. Okay, because we have two cities. So now we're looking at, okay, well, we have two in cities, that's correct. Are we giving possession or are we talking about multiple cities? Well, we're giving possession. We're talking about the weather in these two cities specifically. So we would give ownership to these two cities by doing the S apostrophe. The next one, looking at number 9. Okay, the Reynolds' car had a flat tire, Sal Reynolds told me. Okay, we know from this that their last name ends in an S. So our rule is when a last name ends in an S, okay, to make it plural, you would add ES. Okay, then to give possession, you would do ES, then apostrophe. So we're talking about the Reynolds' family's car. So with that, we would have to do the Reynolds and then add an ES. So then we are automatically drawn to just one option. Okay, this is talking about Mr. Reynolds. His last name is not right, so that wouldn't be right. Okay, Reynolds. Okay, you're giving possession to just one person because his name is the S. So we have to give possession to the families, but to add the ES and then give possession by adding the apostrophe after. Next one, the seamstresses do great work. Okay, well, a seamstress is someone who sews, and in this sentence, we're not talking about specifically exactly these certain seamstresses. We're talking about seamstresses more than one. Okay, so when we have a noun that ends in an S and we want to make it plural, we just add the ES. So for here, we would have to just find the word seamstress and add the plural to it, which would be ES. And therefore, our second response would be the answer. We're just adding the ES. Number 11. The movie had its desired effect. So we're going to do the replacement again because it's it's either the pronoun or it's the contraction it is. So the movie had its desired effect. That sounds right. The movie had it is desired effect. That does not sound right. I can't use that. So we are left with the pronoun. It is referring to the movie. Okay? So it is referring back to the movie. Number 12. Both my brothers-in-law live in Durango. Okay, so we have to look again. How many brothers are we talking about? Both would tell us that there's more than one. So now we're left with the first or the third option. We would be talking about brothers. Okay, so now are we talking about specifically these brothers? But if we have multiple brothers, we couldn't have singular possession. So that's not going to work. So we're left with both my brothers-in-law live near Durango. So that would be our correct answer for that. Number 13. Those girls' vitality and humor are infectious. So the words those and are both indicate that we're talking about multiple girls. Okay, so this shows plural. So we are talking about more than one girl. But now we're talking specifically about the girls' personality and their humor. Okay, and that they are infectious. So we wouldn't just say the girls were given possession to them. This shows possession to one girl. We have multiple girls. So we're left with the S apostrophe showing possession of multiple girls. Number 14. Women's wear has been called the industry's voice of authority. We are with this scenario once again where we have to look at the word women. Okay, women is plural. So that means we're going to do the rule of if we're talking about more than one women, we do the apostrophe S. So when we do that, we are immediately aware that we are then going to choose between the second and the fourth option. Okay, so women's wear daily has been called the industries. Are we talking about multiple industries or this specific industry? In this case, we're talking about this specific industry. So therefore, our response should be the last one. Number 15. Those, so again, those tells us that it's more than one. So those actresses, okay, so we're giving possession to those actresses. So it's going to be actresses apostrophe. So now we're left with either the second or third. Okay, so are we talking about multiple costumes or just one costume? Well, those actresses, there's multiple costumes. Okay, so we're going to do the second response. Down to just the last, 5 here, y'all. Okay, so looking at this one, we have Bill and Al had a boat. I was there when Bill's and Al's boat sank. We don't ever give, when we're talking about multiple people, we don't give possession to both the names when we're doing a list of names. We just give possession to the last name. So we wouldn't use Bill's, we wouldn't do the apostrophe there, we wouldn't do the apostrophe there because we're not talking about multiple Bills. Okay, so with that, we're left with the response that were Bill and Al's both sank, the second response, giving possession just the second name, apostrophe S. All right, look at the next one. She always lets me stay up past the other children's bedtime. So again, we have this idea that children is plural. So what's our rule when we're talking about multiple children? You add the apostrophe S. Okay, so with that would be our first response, the apostrophe S. Because children is already plural. We wouldn't add an S to a word that's already plural. Okay, and we're talking about more than one children, so we have to give possession to them. All right? All right, so look at the next one. In some people's opinion, Faulkner is too difficult. So again, people is plural. So how do we show ownership of a word that's already plural? We add the apostrophe S. Okay, so what one of our responses? It would be the third response because that one shows ownership, giving ownership to the people. Number 19, I really felt that I got my money's worth. Okay, well, again, money is plural. Okay, so what do we do to a word to show, ownership of the money? You would just add the apostrophe S. Okay, so therefore, our response would be the last. And our final question that we reviewed today was, would that company's health plan give you peace of mind? Okay, so are we talking about multiple companies? No, so we could get rid of that one. Are we talking about one company? Sounds like it. This again, we're talking about giving, ownership to multiple companies, but that's not the way we would do that, and neither is that. So when we're left with it, with that company, we're talking about specifically that company, adding the apostrophe S, giving possession to that company. So therefore, our final response would be that. And that was what we worked on today. So I hope that this clears up what we did today. So don't worry about the comma practice. If you guys did it, you guys are a little ahead. Tomorrow we'll be doing more of the apostrophe practice. There is a link to work on. It's a 2-day assignment. So we'll be doing that Thursday and Friday. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.